despite some distinguished companions, having met him openly and in secret, urging him to rise and regain his right. They assured him that they were prepared to lay down their lives for his sake. But Imam Ali did not accept their advice and said, "Be patient in order to avoid bloodshed and preserve public interests." When the opponents realized that Ali would not take up the sword to defend his right, they compelled him to either fight or pay allegiance. Imam Ali had no choice but to remain patient and ignore his right. Therefore, he left Abu Bakr and Umar to themselves and did not speak to them about his right to caliphate. But they did not leave Imam Ali alone. They confiscated the Fadak orchard, which the Holy Prophet had gifted to Lady Fatima, and they did not accept the arguments advanced by Imam Ali. They rejected the claim of Lady Fatima, the honorable daughter of the Messenger of God, whose infallibility is certified in the verse of purification, and whom the Prophet has taken along with himself in accordance with Allah's command at the time of imprecation duel 20 with the Christians of Najran. The participation of Lady Fatima is described in the Quran in the following way. But whoever disputes with you in this matter after what has come to you of knowledge, then say, "Come, let us call our sons and your sons and our women and your women and our near people and your near people, then let us be earnest in prayer, and pray for the curse of Allah on the liars." 3:61. The power elites were so severe with Imam Ali that they stormed his house. They wanted to set ablaze the blessed house, in which Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, and some other members of Bani Hashim were present. 21 feet. Imam Ali ignored even this offense of theirs so that they might not commit a still greater crime. Later they came and apologized to Imam Ali. They behaved in such an offensive way towards Ali about whom the Holy Prophet had said these: "Ali is from me and I am from Ali." Glancing at Ali's face is an act of worship. Whoever hurts Ali, hurts me. Was Imam Ali guilty of any offense other than his excellence, knowledge, wisdom, faith, and precedence in embracing Islam? Had he any choice, except remaining patient in the face of the crimes of those people? Imam Ali, and Umar's Shura council. Umar took over the caliphate after Abu Bakr's death. He used to consult Imam Ali, on various matters, and acted on his advice. None except Imam Ali, was aware of this. Umar acknowledged Ali's superiority and often used to say, "If Ali had not been there, Umar would have perished. If Ali had occupied the seat of the caliphate, he would have guided you to the straight path." When people heard so much praise for Imam Ali, they thought Umar would appoint Imam Ali as caliph after him, and thus the right would be restored to its owner. But when Umar's death approached, he forgot all previous achievements of Imam Ali, and made him an equal to those persons who had no good antecedents. Umar placed 5 persons 22 at par with Imam Ali, and said, "If Ali and Uthman reach an agreement with each other, their view would be correct. And if these 6 persons are divided into 2 groups, the view of the group of which Abdur Rahman ibn Awf is a member should be taken as correct." He took this decision as he knew that Imam Ali and Uthman would not agree with each other, and since Abdur Rahman was Uthman's brother-in-law, his vote shall go to Uthman. Then he ordered his son, Abdullah, that if these 3 do not carry out his wishes he should behead all 6 of them. It is mentioned in Tariq Tabari 23 that when Umar selected the members of Shura committee, he also remarked about the qualities of each of them. Addressing Talha he said, "You are the one who said, 'When the messenger of Allah passes away, we shall marry his widows.' Muhammad is not worthier than we are for our cousins. For this the Almighty Allah revealed this verse. And it does not behove you that you should give trouble to the apostle of Allah, nor that you should marry his wives after him ever. Surely this is grievous in the sight of Allah." 33:53. Then he told Zubair, "I swear by Allah, your heart is not kind and merciful for a day and night. One day, your heart is harsh and mean, and on another day, it becomes pious and obedient. Again, on another day you become faithless and hot-tempered. In short, you are a Satan one day and kind the next." Then he addressed Uthman, "The dung of animals is better than you. If you become a caliph, you will make the descendants of Abi Mut dominate the people, and if you do so you shall be killed." Then he told Abdur Rahman ibn Awf, "You are a weak person. You would love your people so as to employ them. Then he said to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, you possess the spirit of bias, intrigue, and bloodshed. Even if the strap of a water bag is given to you, you cannot take care of it. Then Umar said to Imam Ali, if your faith is compared with the faith of all people of the world, your faith will be heavier. Single quote. Many contradictions are seen in the Shura committee formed by Umar. He said, when the Holy Prophet departed from the world, he was pleased with these 6 persons. Despite this, Umar disparaged all except one of them. This disparagement does not conform to his claim that they gained the pleasure of the Holy Prophet and their competence for rulership. Despite this, he nominated all of them for caliphate, and at the same time he also considered killing them lawful. It astonishes someone that if these persons were fit for caliphate and the Prophet was pleased with them in his last days, how can Umar permit their murder? And if it was lawful to kill them, how can he select them for the caliphate? On what basis did the group of 3, that included Abdur Rahman, enjoy preference over the other group that included Imam Ali, And why was the requisite authority not given to Abdur Rahman at the very outset? Why did Umar ignore the principle that the affairs of Muslims should be left to public vote? Why did he not select, from the members of the Shura committee, the man he considered to be the best, as Abu Bakr did earlier? These are questions that need satisfactory answers. In his book, Al-Iqd al-Farid, 24 Ibn Abd Rab has narrated the following conversation between Muawiyah and Ibn Hasin. Muawiyah: what was the cause for differences and deviation among Muslims? Ibn Hasin: Uthman's murder. Muawiyah: you said nothing new. Ibn Hasin: Ali's confrontation with you. Muawiyah: it is not correct. Ibn Hasin: Ali's confrontation with Talha, Zubair and Aisha. Muawiyah: it is nothing new. Ibn Hasin: I do not know more than what I have said. Muawiyah: differences appeared among the Muslims as a result of the Shura committee instituted by Umar. This committee consisted of 6 persons, each of whom was a candidate for caliphate. Their kinsmen also wanted that caliphate should reach their man so he may hold a high post. So, differences cropped up amongst Muslims. If Umar had nominated one person to be his successor as Abu Bakr had done, the differences would not have developed. Indeed, Muawiyah and others like him who occupied the seats of authority acknowledged the invalidity of Uthman's right. Imam Ali, and Uthman's caliphate. Anyhow, Pledge of Allegiance Uthman's took place and the result of the illegal Shura became manifest. Imam Ali, had no alternative but to remain patient as he had done at the time of the assumption of caliphate by Abu Bakr and Umar. Not many days passed when some of those who had given allegiance to Uthman as well as others came to Imam Ali, and requested him to depose Uthman from the caliphate. They placed their hands in the hand of Imam Ali, and said, we are ready to support you till our last breath. Imam Ali did not heed their words and left Uthman and the Muslims to themselves so that Muslims may themselves judge their actions. The reason for the restlessness and revolt of the Muslims was that the governors appointed by Uthman were changing the ways of the Holy Prophet. Uthman recalled to Medina a person who had been expelled by the Holy Prophet. 25. Uthman used monies from the public treasury for largesse on his relatives. He had also allocated large amounts from the public treasury to himself. He exiled the distinguished companion of the Prophet, Abu Dar. He thrashed, with his stick, Abdullah ibn Masud 26, who was a righteous companion. He cancelled divine commands and did not punish Ubaydullah ibn Umar, who murdered a Muslim man named Hurmuzan. Such acts of Uthman caused the public to revolt against him. 27. After the assassination of Uthman, people gathered around Imam Ali. It is mentioned in Naj al-Balagha that the rush of the public terrified me. They were coming from all sides and Hassan and Hussein were almost trampled upon, and both the ends of my cloak were torn. They were shouting, only Ali is fit for caliphate. Imam Ali told them, leave me alone and make someone else the caliph. They replied, we shall not accept anyone else. In short, they paid allegiance to Imam Ali, and thus placed him into a new difficulty. Uthman had left behind many problems for the new government. He had appointed incapable governors, who treated forbidden things as lawful. Uthman's tax officers sucked people's blood and misappropriated their property in every part of the country. The behavior of Uthman's tax collectors, 28, and his preferential treatment of friends and relatives caused the rebels to entertain desire for rulership. As opposed to this thinking, some envious and inimical individuals were keen to take revenge and to retaliate. What could Imam Ali have done in such situations? Imam Ali could not lend support to the unjust and corrupt persons. He could not accept bribes from incompetent persons and appoint them to important positions. When he began to clean up the administration, some selfish individuals pressured him to retain them in their respective positions or extend their service. When they saw the reality that Imam Ali was not acting according to their dictates, they disassociated themselves from his government and joined Aisha. This led to the Battle of the Camel. Some sycophants who were opposed to truth and justice gathered around Aisha. They staged an uprising in association with Talha 29, Zubair 30 and Bani Umayyah. When Uthman was being besieged in his palace, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were the ones who defended him, whereas Aisha, Talha and Zubair instigated the people to finish him. However, when Uthman was killed, these same individuals demanded retaliation for Uthman's blood. Imam Ali, in the battles of the Camel and Siffin. Regarding the people of Jamal, Imam Ali faced two difficulties. 1. If he remained quiet and allowed the rebels a free hand, it would have laid a wrong example and they would have made life miserable for the nation. 2. If he fought them, it would lead to bloodshed. To solve these two difficulties, he resorted to giving counsel and advice. He requested Aisha to return to her house. He also advised those who had broken the oath of allegiance to remain on the covenant. However, his recommendations did not have any positive effect. So, he was obliged to subdue the rebels and remove the mischief. Eventually the battle took place, resulting in defeat of the rebels. However, Imam Ali's difficulties did not end with this battle. Muawiyah, son of Hind, was a sworn enemy of Allah, his messenger, Imam Ali, and the Muslims. The Holy Prophet had freed Muawiyah, along with his father, on the day of the conquest of Mecca. Muawiyah had not helped Uthman in any way, but when he came to know that Imam Ali had dismissed him from the governorship of Syria, he rose against the latter on the pretext of avenging Uthman's murder. In the Battle of Siffin, when he was on the verge of defeat, he sought the advice of Amr ibn As, who told him to ask the ignorant people around him to raise the Quran on their spears and say, "This will judge between you and me." This deception created discord in the army of Imam Ali. They told Imam Ali to accept Muawiyah's proposal. The Imam tried by all means to explain to the people of Iraq that it was only a deception and that they must take the fighting to its logical end. Though they did not have anything to do with Quran or the Sharia of the Prophet, they did not obey him. One of them said to the other, "If Ali does not submit to the Quran, we shall kill him like Uthman or hand him over to Muawiyah to treat him as he likes." Imam Ali realized that if he continued fighting, he himself and his sons would be killed, and the progeny of the Holy Prophet would become extinct. So, he accepted the proposal for arbitration. All the proceedings took place at Domat ul-Jundal. Imam Ali decided to select Malik al-Ashtar or Ibn Abbas as his representative to forestall the deceit of Amr ibn As. Again, there was discord in his army. They said, "You will have to nominate Abu Musa Ash'ari as your representative." Imam Ali was compelled to agree in the face of their persistence, as a result of which the arbitration ended in favor of Muawiyah. When Imam Ali's army was defeated on account of their disobedience to Imam Ali, and the judgment was against them, they said to Imam Ali, "You should not have agreed with us in our mistake." So, they rebelled against Imam Ali, and thus the Khawarij group was born. What the Khawarij said. The Khawarij said very strange things. Imam Ali gave them proper advice and he was not prepared to nominate Abu Musa Ash'ari as his representative, but they did not accept what he said. And when he appointed Abu Musa as his representative and the decision went against him, the Khawarij said, "You must confess that you have ceased to be a Muslim, or we shall kill you." It was because he had accepted their demand and appointed Abu Musa as his representative that the outcome went against them. Now when he had accepted their demands, they still wanted to fight against him and kill him. Even if he had not accepted their demands and not nominated Abu Musa, they would still have fought against him. Would it not have been a shameful thing that after years of having fought for the advancement of Islam, Imam Ali should have declared that he had become an infidel, while he is the pivot of religion, a personification of faith and a perfect specimen of truth? In the words of the Urdu poet, Ghalib, expression of divine bounties, the beloved of the last prophet, Qibla of the progeny of the prophet, Kaaba of the invention of certainty. Imam Ali's right was usurped, but he remained patient. They made him waver between fighting and allegiance, but he did not mention it to them. In the Shura committee, he was placed at par with unworthy people, but he ignored the matter. And when he remained patient with the attitude of Khawarij, they took up arms against him. I don't think that any of the prophets and saints of Allah had faced so many difficulties and problems as Imam Ali had. I swear by God, that, in a way, Karbala is not as tragic as Nahrawan. In Karbala, Imam Hussein fought against his enemy, whereas Imam Ali had to fight against those who had been in his army till the previous day. These people were those on whose foreheads were signs of excessive prostrations, and who fasted during daytime and offered midnight prayers and recited the Quran. But they considered shedding Imam Ali's blood lawful and were fighting against Allah and His Prophet. 31. Doubtlessly, difficulties experienced by Imam Ali were due to the Quraysh's lack of regard for one of their own sons. They had joined hands to trample upon his rights and told him in a practical way that either put up patiently or die of grief. Imam Ali continued to remain patient while his heart was consumed by grief, and he was facing a dilemma. 1. Died 786 AH. 2. Died 816 AH. 3. A group of scholastic theologians is called Murji'ah. By the grace of Allah, it has now become extinct. Their belief was that if the faith is perfect, no action has any adverse effect. Actually, there was a political motive for promoting this belief. These people existed during the period of Bani Umayyah and they were supported by the Umayyads. The Murji'ah wanted to legitimize the acts of the Umayyad rulers. I don't say this on my own, it is what history says. They used to say, "Sir, if your faith is all right, deeds are not important. If you like, you can perform good deeds, and if you don't like, you don't have to do anything. Deeds are not at all important." When the Umayyad rule declined, the Abbasids, due to the enmity they bore against the Murji'ah, began to persecute the latter. But the pity is that the Murji'ah thinking has found root in Shia thinking. However, the incident that I will narrate will prove beyond any doubt that the true Shia faith is absolutely against this thinking. Ahmad Amin has quoted a report from Abu al-Faraj Isfahani's Aghani in his book, Duha al-Islam. Ahmad Amin is himself opposed to the Shias, but despite that, he has mentioned this narration. A person, whose name he had also mentioned, he used to say that a Shia and a Murji'ah were having a debate among themselves regarding their respective beliefs. One used to say that the principles of Murji'ah are more correct and the other said that the principles of Shias are truer. The Murji'ah was saying that deeds are not important. Faith is of paramount significance, whereas the Shia was saying that deeds are necessary. Just then a singer passed by. I am saying that he was a singer as the narration is from Aghani, which means song. The two said, "Let us ask him, because this man looks intelligent." So, they decided to ask him whether the Shias or the Murji'ah was right. At last, they went to him and asked what his faith was, and whether the Shias or the Murji'ah were right. He replied, "My upper portion is Shia and the lower one is Murji'ah," meaning that I am a Shia by faith. But with regard to deeds, I am a Murji'ah. Though I believe in the Shia faith, I do not act accordingly. Now, we have to agree that we have become a community that is like the Murji'ah in thinking as well as behavior and deeds. It can be said that our religious thinking is dead. And when our thinking has become like Murji'ah, our consequences will also be like them. When one thinks that deeds are not important, what will remain of the world? And what of the hereafter? Can we command any respect? Can we remain the foremost? No, never. Our thinking must be reformed because our way of thinking about religion is wrong. I can dare say that except for some secondary matters related to acts of worship, acts and transactions, our thinking is absolutely misplaced. Neither do we mention the right things in religious gatherings and sermons, nor do we write about them in our books and magazines. We also do not think along the right lines. Before we think of converting other people to Islam, we should consider our own position. Before we light the masjid lamps, we should first illuminate our homes. Religion is life, it is movement, it is awakening. But which religion? The religion brought by the Holy Prophet S. At the same time, religion is the opium of the masses. But which religion? The concoction that we have ourselves prepared. There is the famous tradition. If innovation spreads among the people, it is the duty of the Re-1 scholar to display his knowledge, otherwise he would become eligible for the curse of Allah. Ostad Murtaza Mutahari, Sayings. 4. So that there is no chance of fighting against the rulers. 5. Al-Mazahib al-Ilamiyya, pg. 158. 6. Thus, destiny has compelled the rulers to oppress, and we should be patient with their oppression. 7. Because he was equitable and a well-wisher of the community. 8. It is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari. Volume 3, pg. 166, published by Dar ul-Ishaq, Karachi that, when Abu Hurairah narrated a tradition, those who were present there asked him if he had himself heard it from the Holy Prophet. He replied, "No, I have taken out this tradition from my pocket." It is mentioned in Maruhuz Zahab, Volume 3, pg. 454, published Dar al-Andalus that Abu Hurairah fabricated more than 5,300 traditions attributed to the Holy Prophet. Abu Hurairah has said about himself, "I have many registers of knowledge with me that I have not opened yet, and I had obtained 2 vessels of knowledge from the Holy Prophet. I have opened one, and if I reveal the second, I shall be killed. And if I tell you all I know, people will say Abu Hurairah has gone mad." As-Sunnah Qobal at-Tadween, pg. 426, quoted from Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, Fath al-Bari and Hulyat al-Aliyah. 9. Al-Sunnah consider Samra ibn Jundub also as a righteous companion. The compilers of canonical books have also taken traditions from Samra. Relating the incident of Samra, the teacher of Ibn Abul Hadid, Ja'far Iskafi, says, Muawiyah sent 100,000 dirhams to Samra that he may fabricate a tradition from the Prophet that the verse of, "And among men is he whose speech about the life of this world causes you to wonder, and he calls on Allah to witness as to what is in his heart, yet he is the most violent of adversaries too." 204, was revealed about Ali, and according to the Holy Prophet, he is the enemy of the religion of Allah, and that the verse, "And among men is he who sells himself to seek the pleasure of Allah, and Allah is affectionate to the servants too." 207, was revealed about Abdur Rahman ibn Muljam. When Samra did not accept that amount, Muawiyah sent him 200,000, and when he again did not accept, he sent 400,000. This time Samra accepted the money and narrated the above fabricated tradition. Shar Naj al-Balagha, Volume I, pg.358, Old Edition. This fabricated tradition had a very negative effect on the Islamic society, so much so that the Khawarij began to be called as sellers, or those who have sold their lives to Allah, because in this false tradition, Ibn Muljam is supposed to be the subject of that verse. That was the first negative effect of the fabricated tradition by Samra. 10. The patronymic kunyat of Hassan al-Basri was Abu Sa'id. His father was a freed slave of Zayd ibn Thabit. Hassan was born in the 8th year of Umar's caliphate. He lived in Basra all his life and died in 110 AH. He was an eloquent speaker and a respected person in the eyes of the public and government officials. He was the Imam of Sunnis in Basra. According to the report of Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, Hassan Basri believed in predestination, and he considered it unlawful even to campaign against a cruel and murderous creature like Hajj ibn Yusuf. 11. The following statements by Imam Hussein are an illuminated torch to create fervor among the Shias of every period. O people, can you not see that truth is not being followed and evil is not being forbidden? In fact, it is only this which prepares one to meet the Almighty Allah. In my view, death is the only path to success, and living with the oppressors is nothing but disgrace. 12. Jews and Christians, who live under Muslims' protection. 13. This phrase most probably refers to the Umayyads, who were formerly the enemies of the Holy Prophet and were later Defeated when the Muslims overpowered Mecca. They were technically prisoners and captives, but the Holy Prophet forgave them and let them free. Note of al-Islam. 14. Referring to the Holy Prophet's wife, Aisha, and the Battle of the Camel. Note of al-islam.org. 15. Uqba ibn Mut belonged to Bani Umayyah. The same Uqba who was one of the captives of Badr, and Nazar ibn Harith, who tortured the Muslims and blasphemed the name of Quran, were killed by the Holy Prophet. 16. The names of their idols. Note of al-islam.org. 17. Meaning God is one. 18. According to the authors of Mawaqif and Shar Mawaqif, consensus is not necessary for an oath of allegiance, and it is sufficient if one or two persons take it. The consensus of all Muslims is not essential. The consensus of the people of Medina is also not necessary. Until now the position has been that an oath taken by one or two is considered sufficient. The conclusion that can be drawn from the above statement is that one vote enjoys preference over the votes of the whole nation, and it is essential for the people to submit to it. Hence the oath taken by Muawiyah for Yazid was lawful, and the same is the case of inherited rulership. If a non-Muslim becomes aware of this statement, he will naturally say, "What has happened to the freedom and democracy of Islam?" Author. 19. The body of the Holy Prophet had not yet been buried when others started taking allegiance. This activity continued for 3 days, and the body of the Holy Prophet remained unburied during these days. This so happened because if Imam Ali had buried the Prophet's body, the others who had not offered funeral prayers would have exhumed the body. And if Imam Ali had participated in the activities of Saqifa, the Holy Prophet's body would have remained unburied. Thus, the change of the course of the caliphate on one hand and body of the Holy Prophet remaining unburied on the other distressed him much. Sheikh Abbas Kumi, Bait ul-Azan, pg. 30. 20. In Islamic history, this event was known as Mubahala. Note of alislam.org. 21. Kanz ul-Umal by Ali Mutaki Hindi. Shar Naj ul-Balagha by Ibn Abul Hadid Muntazali. Siyasa wa al-Imama by Ibn Qutayba Dinawari. 22. They were Talha, Zubair, Uthman, Abdurrahman ibn Awf and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. 23. Volume 4, pg.227, published by Dar al-Marif, Egypt. 24. Volume 5, pg. 31, published by Dar al-Fakr, Beirut. 25. The Holy Prophet had exiled Hakam ibn Oz from Medina and ordered him to live in Taif. It is mentioned in Al-Istiyab of Ibn Abd Rab that he used to mimic the Prophet, and one day the Prophet saw him doing that. At that time, Hakam's son, Marwan, was 7 or 8 years old, and he lived with his father in Taif. Abu Bakr and Umar, during their respective reigns, did not permit Hakam to return to Medina. But during his caliphate, Uthman not only recalled Hakam, but he also hired Marwan as his secretary. Khilafat o Mulukiyat, Maulana Madudi, pg. 110. 26. Walid, the son of Uqba ibn Mut, one of those who had carried out persecution against the Holy Prophet, took an amount of 100,000 dirhams from Abdullah ibn Masud, the treasurer of public treasury, saying that he would return it. When he did not return that amount, Ibn Masud wrote to Uthman reporting the matter. Uthman replied, "You are our treasurer. We can take whatever amount we may want from the public treasury. You have no right to say anything." When Ibn Masud read this letter from Uthman, he said publicly in the Kufa Masjid, "O people, I was under the impression that I was the treasurer of your public treasury, but now I have learnt that I am actually the treasurer of Bani Umayyah." Then he threw the keys of the public treasury and said, "I cannot remain the treasurer of Bani Umayyah." So, Walid sent him to Medina. When he came to Medina, Uthman ordered his servant, Yamum, to punish Ibn Masud. On the instructions of Uthman, Yamum threw Ibn Masud on the ground, crippling him. He remained bedridden for 2 years, and then passed away. During these 2 years, Uthman kept his government allowance suspended. Ansa Abu al-Ashraf, Volume 5, pg. 36, Tariq Yaqubi, Volume 2, pg. 147, Mustadrak Hakim, Volume 3, pg. 13, 27. Those familiar with the sources on early Islam know Ali ibn Husayn Masudi Shafi'i died 345 AH very well. Masudi is a very reliable and honest Islamic historian and geographer who is relied upon by all the schools of thought. He has written a very interesting, excellent, and authentic 4-volume book on history, entitled Maruhuz Zahab. Therein it is mentioned that when Uthman was assassinated, he left behind 150,000 gold dinars and 1,000,000 silver dirhams. Also, his properties in Wadi al-Qura and Hunain were worth 100,000 gold dinars. He also left an unspecified number of horses and camels. Volume 2, pg. 341, 28. Yala ibn Umayyah, who is also called Yala ibn Munia because his mother's name was Munia, was a revenue officer during the rule of Uthman. When he died, he left behind 500,000 gold dinars. In addition to this, people owed him a huge sum of money that he had lent them. The value of his property and other things that he left came to 300 dinars. 29. Masudi writes that Talha ibn Ubaydiyah had constructed a magnificent palace in Kufa. Talha's income from his properties in Iraq alone reached 1,000 gold dinars. The income from the Sharia area was more than this. In Medina, Talha had built his house with baked bricks, mortar and expensive wood. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas also had constructed a huge magnificent palace. 30. Masudi writes that Zubair ibn Awam had a palace constructed in Basra. He owned properties in Alexandria and Basra. He died leaving behind 50,000 dinars, 1,000 horses, 1,000 male and female slaves and unspecified properties in various cities. Abdur Rahman ibn Awf Zuri had constructed a palatial mansion. There were 1,000 horses in his stables. He owned 1,000 camels and 10,000 goats and sheep. He was survived by 4 widows, each of whom inherited 84,000 gold dinars. Zayd ibn Thabit died leaving such a huge quantity of gold that hammers were called to break up the pieces for distribution. His movable and unmovable property was worth 100,000 dinars. 31. If Imam Ali had not suppressed the Khawarij, all the pious and religious Muslims would have gradually adopted the Khariji dogma. And if people had become Kharijis, neither Shia Islam would have survived till today nor would Sunni Islam. That is why